Hello everybody and welcome back to the Ultimate Power Tool Workbench series. In this video we are going to get the drawers constructed for the workbench, and I think we're going to bust out some dovetails. So let's get going. So the drawers are going to be fitted in this section of the workbench, and I'm going to fit 3 of them in here. I'm going to have 2 at the top which are the same size, and then a slightly larger one at the bottom which will fit things like my router plunge base and, you know, those tall things that just don't fit anywhere else. They can be neatly stored in there now. So I have been busy off camera constructing a rod, or drawing a rod. And for those of you that don't know, a rod stands for rigid orthographic drawing, which is basically a working drawing that's drawn on something rigid, hence the word rigid. This makes it easy to measure components against it. So here I've drawn the 3 drawers that fit within the carcass, and then I can just check things like, yeah, the drawer runners fit between there, and it's just a nice little thing to do. I haven't drawn this one too accurately because I just need rough sizes for the time being. But if you watch my videos way back in the day, in fact my first series where I was building Cognition, the curved cabinet, I used a rigid orthographic drawing loads in that project, and I wouldn't have been able to make it without it. So if you want to go watch some real awful filming, awful narration, and just where this whole thing started, go back and watch that series. It's quite a good project, but the video is awful. But anyway, the other reason I drew the orthographic drawing is so that I could get a cutting list, and I could easily work out if I have enough yellow pine. Oh god, it's stuck behind here. Come on, get out. There we go. If I have enough yellow pine to actually construct all 3 drawers, because I want to plan that before I start cutting this stuff out. So I'm going to make some room on this workbench, get all this out of the way, then we'll lay the wood out and start working out if I actually have enough material to do these drawers. So I'm already looking at these 2 and thinking these will make quite good drawer fronts. This one, if it was ripped straight down the center, then I've got really nice linear grain which I could use for both the top drawers, and I would orient the grain so that it's thin at the top and then tapering to fatter grain at the bottom of the drawer. So that would be the top of the first drawer, that would be the top of the second one. And then for the third one, there won't be enough material here, but this one should do it quite nicely. Yeah, that section there. So that could be another good drawer front. Just about got enough material, just about. So I've got the 2 fronts that will be on the upper drawers there, and then because of the way these drawers are constructed, there's also another bit behind it, which is these 2 here. Similarly with the larger drawer, there's the main front, there's the back one, and then here, 2 sides for the upper drawer, 2 sides for the second drawer, 1 side, 2 sides. God, look at that light. Whew. For the bottom drawer, and then up here, there we go, back of the top drawer, back of the second drawer, and back of the third drawer. And these components that I've marked on here, they are not drawn to the exact dimensions that are on the cutting list. I've actually drawn them a bit bigger. So for example, the sides on the workbench are going to be 600 millimeters long, but I've drawn them 650 on here, just to give myself a little bit of room either side in case there's some weird misalignment or the lines aren't drawn square across the board or something like that. It's always worth drawing on a little bit more than you need. So when I said earlier that I've just about got enough material, what I meant was I've just about got enough material after laying everything out oversized already. So now I'll start chopping these up. I'm just going to do that by hand to give myself maximum control, and then I'll start ripping them down on the bandsaw. Okay, I've got my 3 drawers laid out as always. Thinner grain at the top, wider grain at the bottom. That's on all 4 sides of all 3 drawers. Got each corner individually numbered. So this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So then I'm not going to get mixed up between each of the drawers. And I've also got face sides and face edges drawn on all sides of all 3 drawers to ensure I know which way is up and I don't end up creating an S-shaped drawer, which would be incredibly annoying. Now this is not going to be a dovetail tutorial video. I've already done that. There's going to be a link in the top corner for that. I'm just going to skim over the process in order to get it done quicker. I don't really want to dwell too much on the process. I just kind of want to get it done. So on that note, I'm also going to use the Katz-Moses guide. I think I'm going to go for a 1 in 6 today. Which one's that? I always forget where the numbering is on it. And although I can do this without the use of a dovetail guide, it's just nice to use this thing just to get it done without having to use too much brain power. The only difference with these drawers is normally on drawer fronts you would do lap dovetails, so you can't see the end grain at the front. But on these I'm going to do through dovetails on all 4 corners, and then we're going to be sticking a false front on it afterwards, which will effectively turn it into a lap dovetail or half blind, whatever you want to call it. So firstly, I'm going to marking gauge around all 4 edges of the tail side and just the front and back face of both the back and the front parts of the drawer. I'm going to lay out the half pins on the tail boards using dividers. Again, the process of laying out dovetails using dividers is explained in my dovetailing video. Link in the top corner is gone now, but there's also a link in the description as well. There you go, tails have all been cut out. Bear in mind that I'm only doing the front ones at the moment because the back dovetails are a little bit different. And now I'll get to work cutting off the half pins or the edges of the tails, whatever they're called. And that is why I love the Katz-Moses dovetail guide, because that required no thought whatsoever. It was very quick. I'm not sure how long it actually took, but yeah, all 3 drawer fronts are now done. They are perfect spacing, perfect dovetail ratio. Very, very happy with that. There is a link in the description to buy the Katz-Moses dovetail guide, but I would advise you to have a look at my dovetail video first before just going ahead and buying it, because although this thing is awesome, it doesn't do everything for you. So go watch that video, make a judgment, see if you actually need this thing or not. But yeah, for those of you struggling, this will really help you out. So now I need to cut a groove on the inside of the drawer at the bottom in order to accept a panel to slide in from the back. I'm going to cut the groove first, and then that will give me the spacing or the size of the drawer. This is kind of a traditional drawer construction, but it's not going to be fitted in the traditional sense. When you're cutting grooves on the inside of drawers, you want that groove to be cut at a height where it's still within the tail, specifically within the shoulder line of the tailboard rather than the top of it. If it's cut below that, then when you cut the groove in the front of the drawer, you end up seeing it in the end grain here. So you need it to be above that height, and then the dovetail will hide it. Now in this case, because I've done a through dovetail, when I cut the groove on the sides, it's going to come through and it's going to show on the front here, unless I was to do a stopped groove, of course, but I don't need to do that because I've got a false front going onto it. However, if you're doing a lap dovetail or half blind dovetail, because the front of the drawer is covering the end grain on the tails, you can do a through groove on both components and it'll be hidden within the sockets of the dovetail. And if that made no sense at all, then don't worry about it, because it didn't to me until I actually did it and made that mistake many times. But hopefully when this drawer's constructed, you'll kind of have a better idea of what I actually mean. Before I start cutting the grooves in the drawers, I like to just do some sort of line on the inside face, just so I've got a clear indication where I need to be cutting. Doesn't need to be anything accurate, just a little scribble so I don't accidentally cut the groove at the top of the drawer or on the outside of the drawer. Just a nice way of verifying it. Okay, now I've got the sides grooved, I can start working out the sizing for the back bit of the drawer. So to allow the bottom to be slid in from behind, I need to allow clearance underneath the back of the drawer in order for the base to fit through it. So the bottom of the drawer is going to start here, right at the top of the groove. And then the top of it, because this isn't going to be traditionally fitted, it could be the same height, but in traditionally fitted drawers, the back of it won't actually be flush with the top edge of the sides either. It'll actually be dropped down a certain amount. I don't think there's any rule on it. As far as I'm aware, this little gap at the top and at the bottom just allows air pressure to escape when you're pushing the drawer in. I'm going to do that on here. Not that I need to, but it's just a good demonstration if one of you were to try and fit a drawer later on. So the back panel is going to come down 10 millimeters and it's going to be flush with the top of the groove, which means the overall width of it is now going to be 170. And then on the smaller one, let's have a look. So down 10 millimeters, it's going to be 90. Right, and then for the back of this, I've got a spacer that's going to fit into the bottom, the exact width, and then I can put the back of the drawer like that, and then that will let me know where the top of the back component is going to end on the side. So I'll lay it flat just to make things a little bit more manageable. And I'll very carefully put a knife mark on the side of the drawer at the bottom. Then I'll carefully square that one along the top as well. And then where the top of the groove is, I also need to square a line across from that as well. From those two inset lines, that is effectively where you mark your half pins to begin with, and then the tails from there. There we go, that's the layout for the back. You can see that it's not a normal half pin where that comes all the way across. You kind of do the tail across and then up, and then that little bit is notched above the back of the drawer. Similarly down the bottom as well, that half pin doesn't go all the way across. It sort of goes across, then up, and then that bit will be notched over the back component as well. So I'll get the rest marked out before I start doing any cutting to keep things nice and systematic, as always. So on here we have a mixture of 1-in-6 cuts and also 90-degree cuts to deal with these weird half pins on the side. Fortunately, this guide has a 90-degree edge in it somewhere. There it is. So for the back of the drawers, I can also use that, which can obviously be reversed both ways as well. And then to transfer the tails onto the pinboard, same thing as before, stick the shim in there, that will lock up against the side of the pinboard, and then you just simply get the front to back sorted. And if you watch my dovetailing video or 5 tips on how to improve your dovetails, there's a little tip in there on how to make that alignment a lot easier as well. Once you've done that, scribe around it, and then it is the same process as usual. That was the mother of all time lapses, wasn't it? So sorry that was a little bit brief. I will be doing a drawer construction video at some point in the future, but this isn't the series to do it. You guys came here to look at a power tool workbench. You didn't come here to learn how to dovetail or draw together. So we're skipping over it for now, but do not worry, we will visit it again at some point in the future for those of you that do want to know. So when I was gluing these drawers together, you obviously want to make sure that they are square when you glue it together, or else it's going to be a bit of a nightmare to try and fit it later on. An easy way to do that is put glue in the joints, get it all clamped up, and then put the bottom in place as well, but make sure you haven't got loads of squeeze out within the dovetails that is going to glue that bottom panel in place. Ideally, you want to have that removable, so just be cautious with how much glue you put on it. So once it was all dry, came back the next day and I started removing the drawer bottoms, because then that makes the whole sanding process a lot easier. You simply hook a big old bit of timber over the edge of your workbench, pop your drawer over the top of that, and then you've got a lovely surface to do all of your planing and all your sanding of the drawer sides. To mark the location of the drawer runners, I firstly got a centre line established on both sides of the drawer, and then I bodged together a little spacer or a shim that would space the drawer runner an equal distance from that front edge. I didn't want to hide the dovetails, so I set it back a little bit further than necessary to show off that beautiful joinery. Then carefully marked the location of the screw holes with a bradawl and screwed it in place. To install the opposite part of the drawer runners into the cabinet, I made this ingenious jig that I saw in a video by John Heiss. I'll put a link to it in the description. It's a very quick one, well worth watching. Good tool to have in your repertoire. But the way I had to create this jig was a little bit weird, because I couldn't simply hook it over the drawer front and mark the location of the screw holes, because the drawer that I've made has a false front, so I couldn't simply hook the T-square over the front of the drawer and do it that way, because the offset would be wrong from the front. So what I had to do was make a shim that was the same thickness as the false front of the drawer, and then hook the T-square over that, and then mark the location of the drawer runners onto the T-square. This would ensure the correct offset from the front of the cabinet, taking the false fronts into account. Right, so I've got the drawer runners installed and they're looking lovely on there, nice and central. Now I need to get basically that part installed on the inside of the cabinet. And I want to leave about 5mm at the bottom so that it doesn't bind when it's being pulled out. So I'm going to measure from the base up to the center holes there, and then add 5mm onto that. So because the space from the bottom of the drawer up to the center of the drawer runner is 101, I'm going to measure up 106 from here and then square that across the front of the cabinet. There we go, that line is 106mm up from the bottom. So then on the T-square, I've got a line that is in line with the center of it. You can pop that on here, line that up with that 106mm, and then whack it to give me the marks. I hope this works. Right, to get the spacing for the remaining two drawers, I've got a gap at the top here which is 104mm. I want to leave 2mm at the top, so let's take that off. We've got 102mm between the top of the drawer and that. 102 divided by 3 is 34, maths. So that means I need a 34mm spacing here, here, and then at the top of the drawer here, which will then have the 2mm added on as well. So from the top of this drawer, I've gone 34mm up. Then I also need to get the location of where the middle of the drawer runner is as well, which, because this is 120mm, it's 60mm in the center of that drawer. So I need to do 34 plus 60, 94mm, up from here. This is so confusing. So yeah, 94mm up from there, measure it on here, and then score that on both ends, and then, yeah, that'll work. Okay, there we go. All three drawers fitted lovely, working smooth, equal spacing between them. Very happy with it, considering as well this is the first time I've installed drawer runners. I mean, up until now it's just been traditional fitting, darling. So now the final thing I need to do is fit the fronts. Now the rod that I drew the drawer layout on is, whoa, 3mm thick. Oh, no, it's 2mm thick, even better. So I'm going to cut this into a series of strips, and then I'm going to use that to space out the drawer fronts while I'm fitting it. I've also got to finish thicknessing these drawer fronts down to their final dimensions, because do you remember before I left them oversized, just in case there was any misalignment or sizes that needed changing. I've just measured the offset from the front of the drawers. These still need to be 18mm thick, which is what I had in mind. But before machining it, I just wanted to double check it. So I'm going to get the top thickness first, and then I'll start working on the width from side to side and top to bottom as well. Or should I say length? Length, that's what I was going for. Okay, so I've got it cut to size. There is 2mm either side to allow for spacing. Firstly, I want to get the height of this front established first. So we don't want it going right up to the bottom of this drawer, because then it's going to bind. And also I want the drawer front on this to be I don't know, about 3mm down from there as well. Because the drawer front on this drawer is going to be down 3mm and I want a little gap between them, let's say that gap is 2mm, I want this drawer front to be stopped 5mm shy of that bottom edge. Oh, first I need to space out the bottom before I start making this measurement. So I've got a little shim at the bottom. There we go. The height to the bottom of this drawer is 238, which makes the front of this 233mm. Damn. My thicknesser only goes to 231. Bum. Well, in that case, looks like I'm hand planing it. Right, let's try again. Spacer at the bottom, in there like that. That should be 5mm. Oh, I've left my ruler over there again. That looks about 5mm. I'll leave it at that. Bang, bang. There we go. There is the spacing. Oh, I've got a nice old crack there. Let's make that the inside face. Right, so to fix that in place, obviously I don't want to just put a screw straight through the front. I want to have a screw coming from the back so you can't see it on this outside face. But I can't really, well actually no, I could take out the top drawers for this one actually. But I don't want to risk it moving or anything while I'm screwing it in place. So I'm going to put a few dollops of super glue on the back, clamp it in place or just sort of hold it there while it dries. I'm not going to put loads on there to the point where I start losing my marbles from the fumes, but just enough to hold it in place while it sort of tacks up, and then I'll pull the drawer out, screw it from the back. That one's done. Oh, but before I do that, I need to cut a drawer recess, hand pull thing. Let's see how much room I've got to play with. So I'll put that down there. I've got about 30mm that I can use here before hitting that front edge. That should be enough. So I reckon I'm going to do something that kind of mimics the holes around the edge of this workbench. So sort of like a scoop down, a flat, and then a scoop up again. And that scoop down, I'm going to make 30mm, which I could do with a marking gauge for. And I'll just find my midpoint as well. Let's make the handle like, I don't know, a bit wider than my hand. So 200mm wide altogether. That'll do. That'll fit the biggest of hands in there. Good. So I've got the two boundaries marked. Let's square them down. Marking gauge set to 30mm. I'll lightly score that between there. And then I need a round thing. There we go. That might look all right, actually. That might look okay. Yeah, let's go for that. Or do I have it more of a scoop? I need a larger radius thingy. The base for the kettle. Oh, that looks a lot more sleek. Here we are again. So that'll go in there like that. Sweet. Okay, so I've still got to add chamfers and things to the drawer front here, but I'm probably going to do that after it's glued together, just to make it easier to, I don't know, align things, and it's a lot easier if you've got a 90-degree edge rather than a chamfered edge, so I'll just leave it like that. It's easy enough to buzz around afterwards. Right, I think that bottom one is ready to be fixed in place. I don't really know how much to put, but oh, that was probably more than I thought. That'll do. Oh Lord, okay. Got the spacers there. That will go in there and push it in place. Hope that it dries. 30 seconds for cure. Okay, that'll be all right. Okay, out with the bottom shim. Oh no, it slipped. Oh no, why is that not sticking? Still blooming wet. Okay, I don't think this is sticking. Yeah, it sticks my hands together just fine though. Ow! I wonder if I could just pull this out without shifting it and then get some clamps on it and then screw it in place while they're holding it. Maybe that would be easier. Let's do that. Let's try that. now to do that another 2 more times. I've done another silly. When I was sizing the drawers, I assumed that there would be a 5mm gap between each of them, but because I realised I had some 2mm spacers, I decided to make the gaps 2mm, which is all very well, providing you plan to make the gaps 2mm from the start, because now the component that I haven't even planed that top edge yet. It's still rough, ready to be sized down to its final dimension. It's obviously too narrow. This has happened a few times in this project. I am going to just thickness that top edge, stick on another little bit because I've got a really tight grain at the top there. It'll easily blend into that. You won't see the join line at all. Stick on a new bit, cut the handle out, screw it on. You will never even know. So because that strip is going to take overnight to dry, and it is also the final day that I'm filming this week, unfortunately I'm going to have to end the episode there before we get the final drawer fitted. Incredibly annoying. I wanted to get that done, but I really need to go home. So in the next episode, that will all be finished and we will get working on the timber storage on the opposite corner of the workbench. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate you guys sticking around for this series. It's almost done. We're almost there after so many months of work. I can't wait to move on to something else. But yeah, if you like the video, don't forget to press the little like button there. That really helps me out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Support me on Patreon if you're feeling super generous. I would be very thankful for that. And I will see you in the next video.